Tonight on KGW News, a UPS jumbo jet goes down shortly after takeoff.
Anybody who has seen the images know how violent this crash is.
And on this election night, will local voters agree to raise their own taxes to pay for things like parks and police? Plus,
rain spreading across the state right now. We got a couple of really rainy days. I'll let you know when the wind will pick up too.
And in Hillsborough, fear of ICE leads to heated community conversation.
They are not just numbers either. These are people. These are fathers, mothers.
And later, who or what was behind this mysterious light show in the Washington sky? A very good evening, everyone. It's election night around the nation and right here in the Northwest, with voters across the Portland Metro weighing in on a number of key measures that could raise their property taxes. Let's get right to it, starting in Portland with just one issue on the ballot, the Portland Parks levy. And while the margin is closer than similar votes in past years, this is still on track to pass. The yes is at nearly 54%, the no's at 46%. Now, keep in mind the last time this levy passed in 2020, it was with 64% of the vote. So if things hold here, a much tighter margin. Catherine Cook's here. Catherine, we should note this is not a status quo measure. It's an increase in taxes.
A 75% increase over what people are paying right now for parks, David. And that works out to be about $133 a year for the average homeowner. While Portlanders love their parks, this levy comes amid questions over how the city handled funding it already had to maintain the parks. The Parks Bureau said 90% of its facilities are in, quote, poor condition, and warned that if the measure failed, they'd have to slash operations by 50%. But an audit released earlier this year said the Parks Bureau doesn't have a plan to pay for parks upkeep, and said the Bureau has failed to show cost-saving measures. Tonight, supporters of the levy gathered to watch election results, including Council President Ilana Pertl-Guiney. She noted that the levy includes a number of measures aimed at increasing accountability and transparency.
In this levy, we ensured that we included the cost of new facilities that were coming online. We don't want to make those same mistakes. What we do want is a fully functional park system with the investment that we need as a city to provide the program that Portlanders have asked for in our parks. And that's what Portlanders spoke to today.
While most local leaders support the levy, City Councilor Dan Ryan came out last week against it. He said the Bureau should focus on generating more of its own revenue instead of asking taxpayers for more money. David, you mentioned the margin here. It's worth noting that in May, a $1.83 billion levy for Portland Public Schools passed with 60% in favor. It's still early, but if it holds, this margin at 54 to 46% is much tighter. Back to you.
Yeah, perhaps a sign taxpayers are saying they are tired of new or increased taxes. Thanks, Catherine. Well, let's hop over to Washington County now. Look at two levies that could raise taxes as well. First, voters are on track to pass a public safety levy. The yes votes at 57% and no's at 42%. Property taxes could go up 3% here. The county says money will go toward things like investigating and prosecuting theft, preventing domestic violence, combating drug trafficking, and fully funding the county jail. All right, it's a similar story and similar margin right now for the Washington County Library Services levy. The funding goes toward reading and learning supports for kids and teens, central services, and open hours and access to books. Let's hop over to Clackamas County, where we're watching two school bond measures. FERC, Lake Oswego here, which appears to be passing by a wide margin, some 70% in favor. $245 million here going toward replacing elementary schools, repairing other schools, and improving safety and tech education. The race, though, much closer in the Westland Wilsonville School District. Right now, the yeses are on top with about 52%. If this is approved, $190 million toward building repairs, upgraded technology and security, and improving athletic facilities. Okay, let us cross the Columbia now to Clark County and talk about Proposition 5 in Vancouver. This is a levy lid lift that would allow Vancouver police to hire 13 more officers and equipment. Right now, that is passing with 57% of the vote. It comes, by the way, after voters rejected another much larger levy last November. And finally, in the race for Vancouver mayor, incumbent Ann McInerney Ogle is well on track for her third term here. She's leading small business owner Justin Forsman with 70% of the vote. McInerney Ogle, by the way, in support of Prop 5 with Forsman there opposing. That is the overview, the big picture. You can find full election results on KGW.com with updates as additional ballot counts come in. We'll have a look at some of the most closely watched national races with a big nights for Democrats in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City coming up in about 15 minutes. But first, we need to take you outside on this Tuesday night because we're headed into a KGW weather impact alert for the next couple of days with a whole lot of wind and rain in the forecast. Matt's here with a first look at what to expect. Matt.
Whole lot of rain out there tonight, David. It has been a bit of a soaker. Here's Vancouver for you, 52 degrees. East winds, notably east winds. They're still raging pretty good west side of the gorge here. Those are going to switch around tomorrow. See the gusts in Vancouver at 29 miles an hour. Meanwhile, at the coast, interestingly, temperatures have been going up. It was 58 degrees an hour ago. Now it's 59. Winds are light generally. Light offshore winds helping to increase the temperatures there at the beach. Look at the rain poured in around 5 o'clock or so this afternoon. And it's pretty much kept going ever since then. It's largely been light rain with some areas of heavier rain embedded within. And you see there's really no back edge until you get well offshore. So it's going to keep raining overnight tonight. About a quarter of an inch for Portland and Vancouver, Troutdale, Scappoose, and Hillsborough so far. A little bit more down in McMinnville, but it's going to keep adding up as we go through the overnight hours and into tomorrow. So here's what's ahead. Rain overnight, but more rain, heavier rain, and windier tomorrow and on Thursday, hence the weather impact alert days, especially for Wednesday. Thursday is kind of on the edge, but Wednesday for sure. Isolated thunderstorms, also a possibility. We'll talk about all of this. And then, of course, the issues at the coast. We got big waves, coastal overflow concerns, a lot going on, David.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. Thanks, Matt. Tonight in Washington County, leaders have declared a state of emergency over increased immigration enforcement in their communities. And as Alma McCarty reports, Hillsborough is considering doing the same after hearing from many people impacted.
In Hillsborough, it was really standing room only inside City Council on Tuesday night as many people showed up to share their personal experiences or their neighbors' experiences with immigration and customs enforcement agents.
The amount of public comment cards that we've received tonight will be over 3 hours of public comment. I've spoken with the entire City Council and we are here for it.
These are not criminals that are being detained. These are hardworking providers who have contributed to our county for decades upon decades.
I am close to an individual who was stopped by ICE, who has residency here. She sought asylum in this state, who was told, how is it possible that you have residency with that horrible effing English?
This is the first year of this administration. This is going to get worse. And this community is terrified.
A community that includes the friends, family, and loved ones of Victor Cruz, a grandfather detained by federal agents last month despite his work permit and temporary protected status. Representative Suzanne Bonamici traveled up to Tacoma's ICE detention center and shared this update Tuesday.
Victor should not be in detention. ICE picked him up on October 14th, almost 3 weeks ago, and it certainly looks like this is a case of mistaken identity.
When asked for a statement about his case, DHS officials wrote, "No one was arrested by mistake. ICE will continue to arrest illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country."
I ran into the whistles as a thing that came out of Chicago.
Outside the meeting, Saren Truer, a longtime Hillsborough resident, shared what she's doing to try and make a difference.
You blow the whistle in like short bursts if you see ICE around, just to let everyone know that they're there, and then people who are vulnerable can go somewhere else.
While back inside, officials discussed their options as a city to address an influx of ICE, from grant funding to community education to connecting with organizations doing the work. Some attendees, however, expressed doubts and concerns that leaders still aren't doing enough.
With all due respect, there is way more that you can do. Your lack of action by our elected officials speaks louder than anything you do or say.
In Hillsborough, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Well, tonight there are signs of a potential end to the government shutdown, which, as a couple of hours ago, is now the longest in American history. Senators from both parties are now quietly trying to negotiate a deal to reopen the government and to come to a compromise on expiring health insurance subsidies. Senators report those talks have now intensified. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of federal employees have been furloughed or are working without pay. Also, millions of SNAP recipients are still waiting for slimmed down benefits this month. Oregon telling us today they are being told to issue 50% of the usual monthly amount, but the state's saying it hasn't yet received the federal funds to do that. And with some 750,000 Oregonians waiting, today we visited the Sunshine Division Food Pantry in Southeast Portland, which says it saw a nonstop stream of families picking up boxes of food.
And we're trying to do everything we can, but this is a crisis. We're at a tipping point where the social service network can't make up for what the federal government does. It is beyond alarming and disturbing what we're seeing.
We'll find ways to help each other. And we just hope it's enough, because we're not going to get it from the government, that's for sure.
The White House does say it'll tap into a contingency fund for emergencies to pay out those partial benefits. Local governments are also stepping up to help fill some of the financial gap. The Metro Regional Government and Washington County announced today both will be sending money from their emergency funds to local food banks. That includes $500,000 from Metro and $250,000 from Washington County. Multnomah County will consider its own proposal on Thursday. Well, as we've been reporting, a growing list of businesses have stepped up to donate, to fundraise, and even give out free meals. Just text the word SNAP to 503-226-5088, and we will text you back with that list. You can also text us names of businesses to add.